What is going on, everybody? Good, this morning still, right? I'm used to saying good afternoon or good evening. It's only 11 a.m. It feels like it's been a very long day already. But in any case, this is Unitedverse, everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back with another scouting report special because we got a lot to talk about. I've got questions. We all have questions. We all have complaints. I think we all right now have a lot of feelings. We're feeling a lot of things right now. Um, but to be honest, this wasn't a video that I ever really planned to kind of think about, let alone put together, because it just wasn't something that was ever on my radar until very recently. But things are what they are, and we're here today to talk about what it might look like to replace Bruno Fernandes in this Manchester United side. And I remember I mentioned that we could be doing this video yesterday, so lo and behold, here it is. Things are what they are. If Bruno's poor start to the season doesn't improve, and it's not just me. I think United, also need to start maybe thinking about who can maybe replace him in that deep playmaker role. And to be quite honest, it's not even just based on poor form or anything. It's you have to be proactive about these things. There's things that Bruno does in midfield that we don't really have players that can do. It would behoove us to start looking at that. We can't just fast track a player from the academy. That's not necessarily the way it works. We need to start thinking about ready-made replacements who can come in and do that job. That doesn't mean I'm Bruno out. I want to make sure we throw that caveat out there now. And this is not me being Bruno out. This is sort of like the Kabi situation right now. I'm not freaking out. Like, I think a lot of people are freaking out right now. We'll talk more about that later on tonight because we will be back with a news roundup later. This is just me being proactive. Like I said, like the good director of football I am, right? So we're going to take a look at 5 players today who I think could come in and slot right in, do that job very, very well, and almost in some ways maybe even do it better, or at least better suited to this system and the way we're trying to play than maybe Bruno. This isn't just carbon copies who can come in and pick a Trivela pass or a silky no-look layoff or a Hollywood long ball to find a run. And these aren't players that just are known for those things. These are players I think can do those things, but they add a little bit more. They're known for ball progression. They're known for maybe being suited to these kind of systems, deeper roles, positions that we're trying to make, who maybe have a little bit more composure, who can put in a shift physically off the ball as well. People who can drop deep, pick up that ball, and are just better at it in that situation because that's where they play. So if you're looking for any hidden gems from leagues in like Argentina or Denmark, these guys ain't that. We're not looking at these guys because when I say Bruno replacements, I mean players who come in, you don't have to worry about developing for several years. Players who are ready to go. These guys are ready to step in. They're ready to be holding, creative playmaking, ball progressing midfielders in that double pivot that maybe Bruno is just not quite able to be. We spoke about this at length yesterday. Is it just that he's not suited to be the 6? Is it that his head's been turned? Is it that maybe it's time to just change to what we're actually looking for in that role in terms of someone who offers a little bit more robustness and not just, that creativity as far as passing range is concerned? I don't know. You guys let me know. But we are going to look at that today. I've got 5 players for you. So like the video, subscribe if you're new. Let's get stuck in. Let's see who's in the chat. As always, big up Usman. Good to see you again, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Danny B in the house. Hope everybody's having a good little Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It doesn't feel like a Tuesday, does it? It's so nice out right now. It's like in the high 60s-ish. Beautiful out today. So let's get stuck in first and foremost with one. I mean, pretty much we're all well known at this point who I'm talking about here. Angelo Stiller. Obviously plays for Stuttgart, 24 years old, 6 foot, kind of entering that really good year right now, what I'm looking at. And I remember, I'm not just going for like, oh, let's just, go get Vitinha or Valverde or João Neves. These are not realistic targets, but I'm looking at some that we could actually go get, some of whom we've actually been linked with. So obviously we know what we can get for Stiller. We've talked about him a couple times. He's a good playmaker. He creates a lot of chances. He's very composed, very press resistant. He's got excellent vision when it comes to making. I mean, we know who he is right now. He is the anchor. He is the tempo setter. He is the playmaker. He is the first phaser. I don't know if that's a word. Whatever you want to call it, he's that for Stuttgart's midfield. Ninth for assists last season, with 8 assists in the league. Seventh for big chances created. Seventh for pass completion in the league. Top 3% for passes into the final third. The guy lives to progress that ball up the pitch. He's also very press resistant. He's composed. He's got excellent passing range, good vision, creativity. The guy pretty much has pretty much everything. He's very intelligent. He reads the game very well. And I think he would be perfect in our midfield, but with someone like Baleba or somebody like that physical profile next to him. And I don't necessarily mind that he doesn't score buckets of goals. I don't necessarily expect that from midfielders in this pivot. It's a bonus, yes, but I don't expect it. Their job is to get that ball up to the goal scorers. I would like to see his physicality improve if this is a prospect for us, simply because I do think you have to be a little bit more physical to make it in the Premier League, as we've seen us struggle against several times. This is where Stiller does a lot of his damage. He gets obviously a lot of touches in his own half in that kind of middle, just thirdish area. But he's also good at moving that ball up the pitch. This is where you want to see this guy operate in the pivot. You know, he's as a creative outlet in the six, as Amorim has said many times. One of these midfielders tends to be a little more creative and they will get more advanced. The other one is going to sit back a little deeper when that happens. And that's just how a double pivot works. That's just the way it is. So when people are worried when midfielders go running, like, one of them is always going to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more progressive. The other one's not. It's just the way it works. You can see he also takes the set pieces on corners as well. These are some of his numbers. Like I said, defensively, I need to see him do a little better. But when it comes to chance creation, progressive pass numbers and everything, the guy is literally above average in every single progressive metric and chance creation that you can get. Like, he just is. He just missed out on the Bundesliga team of the season last year, but he was in the Athletics Bundesliga team of the year in 23-24. And quite frankly, I mean, his performances are very, very good in Europe as well. They've made him a target for a lot of big clubs around Europe, as we've already talked about a couple times. Not only have United been linked recently, but you've got clubs like Real Madrid, Liverpool, Inter Milan, all talking about this guy, all looking at this guy. Liverpool reportedly were ready to pay more than 50 million, but reportedly Stiller is holding out for Real Madrid. So we'll see. He's got this weird situation too, where he's got like a 40 million euro release clause that kicks on in a year. So coming up next summer. But apparently Stuttgart have the ability to buy out that release clause anytime they want for like just 2 million euros, which I've never even heard of anything like that. Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder than some of the Gyökeres stuff that we saw this summer, like that's weird. Like, that to me doesn't seem like that's in the player's best interest at all, but it is what it is. Danny doesn't think we'll get him if he wants Real Madrid. Yeah, it's all about what Real Madrid do. Real Madrid already have a lot of midfielders, so I don't see, unless they move some midfielders on, I just don't see. It's again, like, it's like, why buy all these number 10s? Like, that, there's a reason that certain guys like Batsarina and stuff were reportedly not interested in Real Madrid, because they've already got so many players in that position. They renewed Brahim Diaz. They picked up Bellingham. They've got Güler still. Mastantuono they just picked up as well. They've got Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Valverde. They just now got rid of Modric. They still got Dani Ceballos kicking around, who he might leave. Who knows? I don't see how a midfielder gets in this side unless Real Madrid sells somebody, or if Real Madrid are just like, well, we'll just stick Camavinga and Tchouaméni on the bench. I just don't see what. So he'll get more minutes at United if Bruno leaves than he will at Real Madrid. And again, night and day difference right now when it comes to the clubs and what's going on. But at the same time, some players prefer to play. And so interesting stuff, though. Yeah, Danny says Liverpool's ahead of us. I don't know if they are quite ahead of us anymore, because they keep buying midfielders. He doesn't suit this traditional like 6 role, like this Fabinho nonsense that Liverpool fans have been saying that they've needed. He would be coming in and he'd be competing with Gravenberch. He'd be competing with Szoboszlai as well, McAllister. And I just, again, does he really going to get in that side ahead of these guys? Now they got Florian Wirtz in there as well. And so it's all the question of, I think, where he's going to fit in and where he's going to play. If he were to replace Bruno, he'd literally be starting almost week in, week out when he's fit, right? Like, that's just the way it is. And then we see what we need next to him in order to help him kind of do what he needs to do, because he's not that physical profile. If we can get Stiller and then like Baleba as well, that would be perfect in my opinion. But it is what it is. But Y'all let me know what you think about Angelo Stiller. We're going to go on to my next pick, someone that you guys know that I love to death. We've talked about this guy for coming over a year now on this channel, but always helps to talk about it a little bit more. Let's talk about Hayden Hackney, shall we? Plays for Middlesbrough, still at Middlesbrough. I don't understand how. 23 now. Again, ball progression, composed, playmaking, box-to-box, goal threat. He's a leader as well on the pitch. Hackney is, I think, tailor-made for someone. Now, the only question mark is just, can he do it at a top club? We've talked about this guy so much. Covered him already in a couple scouting reports. There's not much else I can say about him. He's off to a flying start already this season. He's already got a goal and an assist in just the first 3 matches in the championship. 5 goals, 3 assists in all comps last season. The guy just continues to improve. He is a ball progression machine, literally top 3% for progressive carries, top 1% for progressive passes. He's got an eye for a line-breaking pass into the final third as well. And I think some time with Michael Carrick as his manager last season really played a role in taking who was already a promising midfielder to an all-new level where he's added a bit of that patience, a little of that composure, a little bit of that vision to his game as well. So where Hackney, he's, like I said, he's all over the pitch. He's getting involved everywhere. No matter where they see him, he just wants to get on that ball a little bit. Covers a lot of great. That whole little in between boxes, this is where Hackney operates. He's kind of like a Silky McTominay in that regard. He's just a box to box. These are his numbers. You can see he's got, top 1%, like I said, for progressive passes as well. Those carries are in the top 3%, shot creating actions as well. He's already up there in the goals. He's not the quickest, Hackney, but like to McTominay, he's quick in a sprint. If he gets his legs open, he starts booking, he get up and down the pitch. He's not the quickest. He's not going to shuffle around the pitch and pick up that ball really, really quickly, but he is quick. I mean, that's the problem. He's not, like I said, he's not the defensive powerhouse that you're going to get from like a Baleba. This guy wants the ball and he's going to create chances. This, again, Bruno replacement. There are times I do think watching him where he maybe doesn't get as involved as I'd like him. I'd like to see him maybe just take the initiative a little bit more instead of maybe waiting for the ball, waiting for the pass. I'd like to see him sometimes just kind of take care of things himself, but I don't have a problem with it. Now, he recently made an agent switch, Hackney, which sometimes can mean a player is, trying to angling for their better move, if that makes sense. We'll see. Ipswich did make a record-breaking bid for him, but reportedly Hackney did refuse that. Sounds like maybe that to me would have been a sideways step anyway. But loads of teams have been linked to him, including United. You guys know my thoughts. What are your guys? Rob, welcome, Rob. Big up, man. I know, right? I've never spoken about Hackney on this channel, like, at all. Big up. Danny says 100%. I don't know what you say 100% about, but I'm going to go with it. But you guys know I like Hackney. I think the only question mark I have about Hackney is just is he ready for that next step up? But I think the only way you're going to know is just you roll the dice and you put him in the side. I think he's probably better suited to the way we're wanting to play than maybe Bruno. But it's not up to me. I'm kind of throwing him out there and letting you guys let me know what you think. So let's move on to my next pick, another guy that I've mentioned on this channel a couple times, probably a little bit more of a pipe dream than anyone else. But I've said before, if you guarantee this guy more minutes and a more prominent role on the side, I think you could tempt him to leave PSG. And that's Warren Zaire-Emery. Just 19 years old. The guy is so mature and so experienced at a top level for such a young player. He brings experience in just that level of elite level footballing that you don't see from a lot of young players. He's composed, he's versatile, ball progression. He's got that experience in the elite level, and he plays this minute, man. He's mainly used right now as a rotation option, as a substitute. But again, when he plays, though, he tends to contribute. 3 goals, 2 assists last year from midfield in a more rotation option. 3 goals, 7 assists the year before. So when he's getting time, he's getting involved. He's very mature, very composed. He makes good decisions. He's versatile. His ability on and off the ball not only allow him to play as a 6 or an 8, so he can play multiple roles in midfield, but his work rate too, I think, makes him very, very well suited for a variety of systems as well. So he does play as an 8, because PSG tend to play with that 4-3-3 kind of a situation. So he is going to get a little bit more up the pitch with his ball progression as well. I think that this is a guy I'd look to if maybe we put someone next to him like Morten Hjulman or Felix Nemecha or something. Someone with a little bit more experience, a little more age, but also a little bit more of that physicality to complement Zaire Emery's youth a little bit. So like a Zaire Emery and like a Morten Hjulman or a Zaire Emery and like a Felix Nemecha, I think would be very good. Even like a Zaire Emery, and if we were like could have gotten like João Paulinha for free or something, that would have been a good system for me, I think. Now there are arguments that maybe he's a little too similar to Kavi, but I think that there's no point in spending the money if he's that similar. I hear that argument, right? If he's too similar, why spend the money? So I totally hear that. Here's just looking at some of his numbers. So again, pitching in a little bit off the ball, a little bit above average for tackles, drops deep to make those plays. I'd like to see some of that physicality get up. Again, this is the guy you're looking at to progress the ball up the pitch. Look at the progressive passes numbers, the progressive carries, the take-ons. This guy just moves the ball up the pitch, and that's the point of today's video, right? Now, Zaire Emery has reportedly committed to staying at PSG, so that does put a little bit of a spanner in the works here, of course. And he wants to fight for his place reportedly, but I've also read that PSG do see him as integral as part of their plans, but we'll see. Another season of being a sub, being a rotation option, not getting as many minutes as maybe he thinks. We've seen it with young players all the time. I mean, we've lost a lot of players at United, young players, because we weren't able to give them minutes that they thought they were entitled to. This happens all the time. So another season or even a half season of that and another half season of Bruno shit in the bed, like all bets are off. You never know what could happen. What are you guys saying? Jay, big up, Jay. Welcome back. You kind of coming in the middle, man. We already talked a little bit about a couple players, my friends. Big up, Rob. Yes, please hit the like and subscribe button. What are y'all thinking of Zaire Emery? Do you think that he could be a good? Do you think he's too similar to Kavi? Do you think Kavi's better? Would you rather just stick with Kavi? Do you think Zaire Emery would be a better option? Again, we're looking at Bruno replacements right now, someone who's just does that. And the reason I went with Zaire Emery as well, because even if he's young, it's because he's got years of experience already at a top level, Champions League year in, year out, top level PSG. I think he's doing it. He's played with excellent players. He's played under an excellent coach. I think you could tempt him with some minutes. And so you guys let me know your thoughts. Blip, how you doing there? Why is nobody going for Julian Brandt? I like Julian Brandt a lot. I think he's probably a little older. So again, he's not a bad player for sure. I think maybe some people, Blip, are probably a little gun shy about getting players from Dortmund. We haven't had the best of luck with the players we've got from Dortmund. And that's not a slight on necessarily the players itself. It's just kind of the facts, Kagawa didn't necessarily work out, probably wrong timing for him. If he had come like 4 years later when we were sticking with 10s, maybe. Mkhitaryan obviously wasn't here super, super long. And then obviously Sancho is probably going to burn a lot of people. There are players at Dortmund that I do like Schlotterbeck. I really like Schlotterbeck a lot. I think he's very good. Felix Nemecha, we've already spoken about a couple times. I like Adeyemi as well. There's a lot of really good players out there. Danny says, Damsgaard, is he too old now? Anderson, Forrest. Yeah, we've spoken about Anderson before in the past. I do like Anderson as well. Yeah, there's a lot of good players. I'm going to move on to another player. So this one has been popping up a little bit more recently, but it does bear mentioning as well. It's probably not going to be the most well-known player on this list, but he is starting to get mentioned a little bit more. And I'm looking at Jawi Cisse. Plays for Reims in Ligue 1, 21, 6'2". Guy's a very, very technical player. He's a very tidy player on the ball. He's got good passing range, good composure, two-footed, good vision, good work rate as well. He pitches in a lot off the ball as well. Press resistant, good vision. He could be a shrewd piece of business for any club looking for just an all-around solid midfielder. Again, he's also very good off the ball. So getting a lot of touches all around the pitch. You can see a lot of these midfielders are kind of operating in that middle third area of the pitch. But these are his numbers as well. Got really good tackles, really good blocks and stuff. And then we've got that pass completion, the progressive passes, the carries, and the take-ons. Again, looking at these ball progressors, this is what I'm looking at. He was a big standout in the under-21 Euros, despite actually being a late kind of replacement for an injured player. He scored 3 goals in the tournament over the summer. Big standout, huge tournament for him. Reportedly, Reims rejected a 30 million offer from Inter Milan, Sounds like they think that they'll easily get twice that much, maybe probably in another year or so. They are known for producing talent, though, Rons, and selling them for big fees. So I think it's only a matter of time before Cisse is just another name on a list of names that come from Rons. I mean, I'm trying to think of I meant to make a list and I completely forgot off the top of my head. So, but yeah, those under 21 Euro was an absolute baller. Yeah, I do like Damsgaard a lot. I think he's good. I don't know if he's quite the level that I would expect necessarily, but I do like him a lot. Yeah, Anderson. We've spoken about Anderson in the past as well. Danny says absolute baller. Joey Cisse. Alex Baina would have been ideal. Yeah, he was definitely on my list for a little while there. I think he's Atletico. Yeah, it is what it is. Let's see what y'all are saying. Workhorse. Yeah, you guys are in agreement. Joey Cisse, like I said, probably going to cost probably what Stiller is probably going to cost, but it's all dependent on getting them out of runs. You could probably throw a player in there and see what they do. But rounding out my list is a player that I didn't have on the list quite necessarily, but I threw him on there anyway. And I don't know why I say it like that. Like I just wasn't considering. I was considering. I think I just forgot all about him for a second. Had a huge brain fart. But a player that we all know well, sorry, who is having just a absolute standout performances since he came back from his injury. Honestly, probably my most ideal option on the list if we're looking at Bruno replacements, because again, we're not looking at carbon copies. We don't need the flair and the Hollywood ball. We need someone who's tidy, composed, can control the tempo of the game, that has an eye for a pass, and is compress resistant and is a little physical as well. Adam Wharton ticks all these boxes. He's still just 21, but he already looks like he's in his late 20s. 6 foot, he's technical, good passing range, composed, leader as well. We need more of those on the pitch. He's probably the closest to a full-on Michael Carrick regen that I've seen in several years, if I'm being honest. There was concern last season. I think he picked up a groin injury. He missed a lot of football, but he's come back from that really even better than he was before, and he's really developed into a very composed holding midfielder with an eye for a pass. He operates on that right-hand side. He can receive the ball in deep areas under pressure. He can create space for himself, and he can move that ball up the pitch. He's an invaluable member of Palace's squad right now. And again, like I said, the guy is absolute leadership material. Something that United desperately need more of in the squad, whether he wears the armband or not. We need more leaders on the pitch. It's no surprise that all this has made Wharton one of the most sought-after midfielders, and not even just from English clubs. Aside from the usual suspects of United, Liverpool, City, Spurs, Bayern Munich, and even Real Madrid have all been linked as well. I think Real even has scouts in attendance to watch him. Now, Palace are, of course, going to hold out for a lot of money. Between 80 to 100 million pounds is what I've seen. It's less than what Brighton are asking for Carlos Baleba, but it's still a bit of money. But I still think with Wharton, you'd still want someone like Baleba next to him on the pitch, someone who was going to get around a little bit more, who's going to get a little bit more physical. And Baleba is kind of that Carrick, that almost like a Busquets kind of thing, where we're going to take the ball, we're going to control it, we're going to create space real quick, we're going to drop a shoulder, get up the pitch, find somebody else. In a perfect world, I'd get Wharton and Baleba, go spend 200 million, and you got your midfield set for the next decade. But we don't live in a perfect world. Oh, these are some of his numbers. So I'd like to see some of this pass completion get better. It's not horrible. 75% is not awful. And again, you do have to consider where he's playing. You have to consider the fact that he was also injured a big chunk. So remember, FBref looks at the last 365 days, and among those last 365 days in all comps, he was injured for a big chunk of it. So it does take a hit, but still his shot creating actions are good. Progressive pass numbers I like to see. And those interceptions. You guys know how I feel about interceptions. When you're good at interceptions, when you make a lot of those, it tends to mean that you can read the game very, very well. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Welcome, Bexy says Wharton is the key. Yeah, I do. He's, like I said, he's probably my most ideal option on this list, simply because, like, even ahead of Stiller, he's got, experience playing English football. And you guys know I don't put as much stress on that as a lot of people do, but it definitely does help. It doesn't mean it hurts when you don't have it. Box, welcome, Box. I would sign Wharton before Baleba. I think in an ideal world I'd get both. Personally, Danny says Matthias Fernandes leave. He didn't leave. I like Matthias Fernandes a lot. He doesn't play in that role necessarily. He plays more in one of those 10s. I looked at a lot of his positions that he's played. I looked at his EMAB. He's definitely rocking in like the 10, which you guys know he was my pick. We did a video last season of players from relegated sides who I've taken. He's definitely one of them. I like him a lot, but I think he could be a good 8. You could probably push him to an 8, but I don't think I'd trust him in the deeper role necessarily. Bexy says he can great build up in calmness. Yeah, I like Wharton a lot. He's definitely my ideal choice personally. Bexy says he's calm, technical, experienced in night match. I like him a lot. Any one of these players that we've listed today, I would take in a heartbeat. And there are some probably that didn't even get on the list personally, like Elliot Anderson, probably in with a good shout as well. The reason I went with these guys is simple ball progression. That's what we need in that. What the heck was that? Something just hit my window. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. We need players who can get that ball up the pitch, who have an eye for that kind of stuff. Now, Anderson is definitely more of the McGinn type. He's going to get it and he's going to carry it up the pitch, which isn't a problem necessarily, but is like I'm looking at his numbers right now for passes. They're not stellar, and that's not bad. He would be a good foil to someone like a Stiller, in my opinion. You get someone like Ellie Anderson next to a Stiller, next to a Wharton or a Hackney, and you've got a really good midfield. So maybe that's another video. Maybe we look at the Baleba alternatives or something. Maybe we look at guys like Anderson and whatnot. So Jay says, how about Florentino Luis? No one's ever heard of him. We've talked about Florentino Luis. It might have been you who's mentioned him a couple times. Yeah, I know who Florentino Luis is. Let me go check his numbers out as well. Because he's been, didn't he go on loan a few years back? Didn't he go to like Spurs or something? Yeah, he's definitely more of a defensive-minded 6. He's not going to be well known for ball progression, but he's definitely one of those ones who maybe could be a foil for one of these playmakers, if that makes sense. Danny says Hackney, Wharton, Mainu could all rotate. Yeah, you'd probably. Yeah, that's a lot of rotation. We're going to talk about Mainu a little bit later on today when we come back for a news roundup because there's more stuff popping out. So let's see. I want to get caught up on here. Rob says, think Matthias Fernandes is still at Southampton, but think he's been linked to clubs like West Ham, Everton. Yeah, he's a good little player. I like him. Very physical. If he gets up and around the pitch. Don't know if he's going to be the deeper one, though, that we look at. So Trini Red Devil, welcome, says Wharton and Mainu in midfield is good. It's a good midfield. I would like to see a little bit more physicality. And if Ugarte could just make better decisions and have a little bit more ball progression on him, I think he'd be fine. But he's not off to a flying start. But we've said that about everybody. That's just why we're doing the video. Again, I'm not trying to do a knee-jerk reaction. I'm not freaking out. We got Saudi links throughout the summer. Bruno's not had a good start to the season. He's 30, 31. If United aren't being proactive and planning for life without Bruno by looking at someone from a ball progressing midfielder, then they're not doing their job. But I'll do it for them. So Kai says, hello, everybody. Welcome, Kai. Good to see you again, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Let me get caught up in here. Box says, will you do a Mainu replacement video? I mean, if Mainu is rotating with Bruno, according to Amorim, then you could technically call all these guys. Honestly, if we're replacing Mainu with, just promote someone from the academy at that point. I mean, Mainu's only been playing first-team football for a little over a year. Just bring up someone from the academy at that point. You bring up Kone, bring up Ibrahimov, bring up one of the Fletchers, and let them do their thing. So, Kai says, isn't West Ham in for Onana? We're going to talk about all the rumors later on, Kai, because this is not the news roundup. This is the scouting report special video today. We will be back later on with a news roundup, so make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you're here. You guys get a 2 for today, but wanted to make sure I did this video real quick just to give everybody some idea of the kind of players that I'm looking at and maybe get your thoughts on not only these players, but who else you like. So Danny already threw out guys like Damsgaard, Elliot Anderson in there as well. Danny says, Thwaites be ready next season. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about Cobby. We already spoke about Cobby and Bruno and Amorim yesterday, so go check that video out if you guys haven't yet done so. Really good discussions in there. Apologies for anyone who doesn't like that I don't make a decision on being Amorim in or Amorim out. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know that I just don't bother with those kind of discussions. So it is what it is. But some people apparently didn't like that. So it is what it is. Bexy doesn't think Manu fits the system, but it's not a big deal if he goes. He jogs around the pitch. Not as good as people think, but he has talent, to be fair, but I'm not sure about his consistency. Yeah, and I don't even care about his consistency at the moment. Not that I don't want him to be good or anything, but he's young. Like it's not what I would expect from him, but I've said that for a while. He shouldn't be starting week in, week out. And like I said yesterday, all things being equal, if Manu is upset that he's not getting minutes, then that's a problem. But right now, the problem is looking at the way Bruno's sticking up the joint, the way Casemiro sometimes struggles, the way Ugarte's struggling. If I'm Manu, I understand the frustration, if that's what's going on. I don't know. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on today, though. I don't want to get ahead of myself there. Bach says, out of interest, which past CMs did you admire? Oh, boy. Oh, you're talking to someone else. Good. Because I thought you were asking me to list a lot because it was too many. Oh, none. You are asking me. Oh, boy. You're talking about, so Box, your question is midfielders that I've admired in football, like just in football in general, outside of United. Oh, man. There's a lot of midfielders out there. I mean, obviously, you look at guys like Xavi, look at guys like Busquets, Schweinsteiger back in the day. I really like Schweinsteiger a lot. Modric, probably one of my, like, the best midfielders I've ever seen. Cruz, obviously, in his pomp, was very good. Xavi Alonso, very, very good. Yeah, Cruz and Modric. I mean, there's a lot of midfield. I mean, it would take forever if we listed them all. Ibrahimov, the way it's ballers. Yeah, Ibrahimov got himself a goal the other day. Kai wants to know, would I sell both Manu and Bruno? Probably get Wharton and Baleba. Problem is that should have been done earlier. Yeah, it's always going to be difficult now. We're coming into late hours. I wouldn't put it past us to make a late push and spend big on someone, on a midfielder on deadline day. I could go either way on that right now, whether or not I think that's going to happen. I think we'll probably see some players leave in the next couple days, as well, as we'll talk about later on as well. But and transfer window's not over yet. Let's see. Rob says the French seem to have a production line of quality midfielders. Yeah, France, they've had some good midfielders over the years. They've had so many midfielders that people, Matuidi, I always really like Matuidi. Guys like Verratti, I thought were very good as well. There's a lot of good midfielders over the years, too. It's just, we could spend all day listing all of them. Now, remember, being American, I didn't have regular access to watching matches until, people had satellite TV until like probably the mid 2000s is when we really got a lot of that access over here. Until then, it was literally, I had to go to like a rich friend's house, or like when I was really young, I had to wait till my birthday at the end of every season to get like the VHS tapes so I can watch all the highlights from United. That was when I was young. So I was like a year behind everybody when it came to kicking up. Redondo, is that dude who went to Inter Milan, that or not Inter Miami, that we were linked with a while ago? I really like Brozovic too. Brozovic probably would have been one of my picks for this system, but obviously he's a little old now. But it is what it is. Jay actually thinks Manu does fit the system, but you can't play him every time because he's going to wear out. He needs an Ederson he can learn from. Yeah, Manu he needs to accept the fact, and I'm not saying he doesn't accept it. I'm just saying he's going to accept the fact that right now he's going to be a rotation option, but Amorim actually needs to use him as well. I think it'll be telling what happens tomorrow for this match, so it's interesting. But you guys let me know your thoughts on that. Like I said, quick video, real quick, to kind of go through some of my picks. If you weren't able to catch the live, get in the comments on the video with your picks for players. Now, the criteria here are, players who play this role naturally, players who are ball progressors, but also players who have a bit of physicality to them as well. Because this is in composure, like press resistance. These are kind of players that we need. Players who are also ready to come in and do the job, not like these youngsters or randos from Denmark or whatever. No offense, but we need players that we don't have to wait, because we need to the whole point of this video is to replace Bruno, people who can come in and do that. So let me know your thoughts on that, you guys. Make sure you are liking the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Come back later on today. We're going to be doing another news roundup. Like to let the news kind of accumulate throughout the day, and then we'll talk about it. So keep a lookout for that this afternoon, probably like, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock. We'll do that. So Until then, get your thoughts in. Thank you guys for getting involved in the chat as well. Oh, go check out the new shirt design on the UVE store. I posted it in the community tab. So take a look at that, and I'll see you guys later on. Take it easy. Talk to you later.